So Night of the Juggler, 1980. This is a monster, incredible action masterpiece. An incredible film set in the world of sleazy late 70s, early 80s, New York, sleaze, grime, everything, all the cliches are out there. An incredible film. I mean, everything you need to know about the movie you learn from the poster art, which, I mean, it's James Brolin basically tearing New York apart in search of his kidnapped daughter. At the very beginning of the film, James Brolin's character, who is this divorced father taking care of his daughter in this kind of, again, sleazy, grimy New York. His daughter, by accident, is kidnapped. It's an accidental kidnapping. It's not intended. It's a bumbled kidnapping. And he must fight his way across the high and the low of New York in frantic search of his daughter. Along the way, he will meet pretty much every major character actor who was working in New York at the time. He meets Mandy Patinkin as this crazed cab driver who's tearing apart the roads. He will go into the 42nd Street grindhouse where we see Sharon Mitchell and Serena, famous adult stars. And I mean, I'm sure there were more adult stars, but they were just the two obvious ones. And Sharon Mitchell kind of has a big part, and she's kind of like she offers some very key exposition. There is Richard Castellano is the police detective that is kind of following up on the kidnapping. Richard Castellano, famed character actor, was Clemenza in The Godfather, and his partner is somebody else. He was in Short Eyes, and he was in a couple of other movies. He was in Vigilante as well. Short Eyes and Vigilante. I forget his name exactly, but he is his. Yeah, I mean, there are so many actors from Dog Day Afternoon and The Godfather and Cruising and all. It's like, I know I'm gonna leave somebody out. I know I'm gonna miss somebody because there's just too many actors. James Brolin's ex-wife, Linda Miller. She has one scene where she gets histrionic and what are we gonna do? What's going on with my daughter and everything. Linda Miller, who was Jason Miller's wife, Jackie Gleason's daughter. She was a star of Communion, Alice, aka Alice, Sweet Alice. So, I mean, there are all these little, and they're not really featured. I mean, they just kind of, I mean, it's not like, these were like, before they were stars, before Mandy Patinkin was Mandy Patinkin, he just had a little part in this movie, and it's like James Brolin just kind of like drops in on their life and then runs off. I mean, there's a scene where James Brolin steals somebody's car because he's chasing after the kidnapper, this evangelist, this street preacher evangelist in a car. And the guy whose car he steals, it was an actor. He played the doctor. He played Reagan's doctor. I mean, there's so many little things. I mean, it's such a incredible movie, and it has such an incredible performance from James Brolin that it's almost criminal that the movie is so obscure, which it really is. It's was released on VHS. I think it might have had some kind of Laserdisc release, but it really kind of, it still lives in the grimy, guttery VHS land. There's a version of it on YouTube, which is okay. But I mean, I started watching that version, but it was so good. I was like, I gotta stop this. And so I went out and I searched around. Now, the most prevalent VHS, I think, is the Media Home Entertainment VHS with James Brolin on the cover. But I found this other VHS from this company, the Nostalgia Merchant. And this VHS, I love the cover of this VHS because it's crazy. Because it's got Julie Carmen going, wah! And then it's got Dan Hedaya, rrr! And then it's got James Brolin going, rrr! It's like, it's great. It's an incredible, like, action cover, and it makes you really wanna watch the movie. And so it really pumps up the movie, and the movie deserves to be pumped up. It's an incredible film. It played one of the big regrets of my life is that it played here. It played in Austin, Texas a few years ago at the Alamo Drafthouse, and I missed it. I wanted to go, and then I was like, I don't want to go. It played a weird Wednesday in 35 millimeter, and then it played in New York, in Yonkers, the Alamo Drafthouse in Yonkers, and I hope someday I'll be able to see it here in Austin. I hope someday, or somewhere else, wherever I am, I hope someday I'll be able to see this damn thing in 35 millimeter. I worry that I'm not going to be able to, because the heyday of the Alamo Drafthouse and Grindhouse and 35 millimeter and Quentin Tarantino coming down to the Alamo Drafthouse and doing film festivals and these grimy movies playing is kind of over in Austin. Austin has gotten kind of very socially aware, very socially conscious. And I mean, that's fine from a personal, professional perspective. That's fine, but it's been reflected in the movie programming. The movie programming is very vanilla. It's very, well, literally, it's like Vanilla Ice, Cool as Ice. It's Garbage Pail Kids. It's Howard the Duck. It's very light and breezy and retro, hipster. The whole, grindhouse, cannibal movies, horror. That type of stuff is a little bit taboo right now. You'll go to a screening of a movie and there'll be trigger warnings at the beginning of the movie. You'll be read a riot act about how what you're about to watch is so culturally insensitive, and but meanwhile they're showing it. So it's like the stuff blew up around 2017, 2016, and it's really kind of a boring vanilla experience, I think, in many theaters. And it's kind of been sad because, when a few years ago, they were really showing some incredible stuff here in 35 millimeter and, Fight for Your Life and Adios Zio Tom and all kinds of really, really stuff I saw in the theater, and it just shocked the hell out of this Austin audience. And I don't know if I'm ever going to have that. I'm going to have that experience again, whether it's in Austin or elsewhere. But what I'm getting to is that films kind of like this movie are kind of out of vogue because in the whole current climate, the movies have to be very ideologically correct. They have to be very ideologically sound in order to play. I don't know why Night of the Juggler is so obscure. I mean, it went on VHS, so it was big on TV, and then it hasn't had a DVD release. It hasn't had a Blu-ray release. It was released by Columbia Films. Arnold Kopelson produced it, big producer, and but you don't really hear a lot about it. I mean, I guess James Brolin is not a big enough star, but he is a big star. But I mean, it's the film overall is just such an action. It's just such a driving movie. There's this whole thing in story. One of the first things they teach with screenwriting and story is that show, don't tell. If you want to show a character's motivations, don't have them sitting in a chair for 10 minutes talking about something. Have them go out and do things that show you what the character is about. And this movie has that. It's a dynamic action piece which just goes from beat to beat to beat to beat. It's just James Brolin's character just racing across the city, the high and the low, going through all of these areas, going through the Bronx, which looks like some kind of blown out post-apocalyptic movie. I guess that's what the Bronx really looked like in the 70s. It looked like some kind of blown out post-apocalyptic movie. But it made for great movies like this one and The Exterminator and the Castellari Bronx films. But it looks post-apocalyptic. It looks like it's just like, how could something like that exist in the United States? I mean, at any time in the 70s and the 50s and the 30s, even, and I mean, it's just, how could at any time in the history of America could something so desolate and blown out exist in our country. It's embarrassing and crazy and insane. The fact, I mean, you just look at it, it's like, no, that's not even real, but it was real. You know, it looks like a bomb hit that city. So in that kind of climate, again, the films like this film and Taxi Driver, they kind of, and I mean, like, looking at Robert, I was about to say Robert Clemenza, looking at Robert Castellano, I mean, I knew he wasn't, but it's like he looks like the bank manager from Dog Day Afternoon. He looks like the bank manager, and then the bank manager from Dog Day Afternoon shows up in a scene working at a shelter, looking at an animal shelter, and it's like, so now literally every New York actor has shown up. He also has some overlapping dialogue. It's really cool. It's very Altman-esque. So it's an incredible movie. I mean, Night of the Juggler. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why it was maybe kind of unsung, unheralded. The title of the film is very obscure. I think the film is based on a novel, and it's a very literary title, Night of the Juggler. You know, I mean, the idea is that this crazed kidnapper is like, you know, the rich guys have got everything. The books, you know, they balance the books, they juggle the books, they rip you off. Now I'm going to be juggling the books. You know, so it's the night, and there literally is kind of a night of a night where stuff goes down, because the film begins in the early morning, and then James Brolin's chasing after him, and then it kind of ends in this kind of music festival showdown, so to speak. And you even get to see a little bit of the sewers, though the end of the film is really on the YouTube. You can't really see it. The VHS is a little bit clearer, but it's still, the video transfer is just like, there are moments in the film which are just pitch black. You know, you just can't see what's going on. This film really cries out for a beautiful, it needs a good high-def transfer. You know, the idea of a guy chasing after his daughter frantically, Night of the Juggler, and then a few years later there was another movie with the same plot, and it was called Commando. And one of the lead villains in Night of the Juggler is played by Dan Hedaya, who also played one of the lead villains in Commando. Coincidence? Yeah, probably is a coincidence, but who knows? You know, who the hell knows? Hollywood is so weird. You know, it's very, and then even, you know, and so the plot is very similar, though Night of the Juggler kind of feels like Commando meets The Warriors, in the sense that, you know, but Night of the Juggler, unlike The Warriors and unlike Commando, is not an absurd, you don't have, you know, James Brolin swinging from the rafters in a mall, you know, and you know, pushing cars off the sides of you know, cliffs and stuff like that. You know, he doesn't shoot a billion people. It's a very realistic film. You know, there are some elements which I guess are kind of absurdist, but it's very kind of taut and realistic. A young Julie Carmen has a performance as one of the characters that James Brolin meets up with, and you think for a while there's going to be some, you know, romantic love interest thing, but there isn't. It's just kept very straight, very, you know, and she even kind of ropes him into even more trouble, you know, where he gets being hassled by a kind of a Warriors type crew. And, there was another movie that had a love triangle like that, Love on the Run, and it was Commando, right? With Ray Don Chong and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Again, another coincidence? I mean, and also, but unlike Commando, where it's kind of like a little bit of more of a romantic kind of vibe, no, there's no romantic, it's always pushing forward in the action. And James Brolin really shows himself. He feels like he has that same crazy beard and hair from Amityville Horror in this movie. And he's just like that character. He's like that demonic possessed character, like put him on the streets of New York and have him go wild looking for his daughter. It's like an unofficial sequel to Amityville Horror. So, a great movie. I hope someday to watch in 35mm or watch some kind of remastered high definition version of it, because it really is, I mean, one of Quentin Tarantino's favorite movies. When Edgar Wright was doing Baby Driver, Tarantino said, "Hey, you gotta watch this movie," and it's gotten a little bit of acclaim because of that Tarantino Edgar Wright Baby Driver connection in recent years. But it's great. It really is a great movie. Believe the hype. Check it out. YouTube, VHS, however you can watch it. It really is. If you love the 70s, the 80s, the Warriors, the Taxi Driver, sleazy New York, slimy, action, epic, this is the movie to watch.